But let's find out more about this and talk about more on the perhaps a more scientific or a medical explanation of it by talking to a forensic doctor who has handled actual charm needle cases in her career. With us today in the studio, we have Dr. Evi Untoro, who is a forensic pathologist. Hi, good afternoon, Dr. Evi. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, likewise.
So, as a forensic doctor, tell us about your experiences in regards to a charm needle and how it exists and how you've discovered it.
Well, in 2007, when we working in forensic between the pathology in postmortem in mortuary, and also we working in forensic clinical. So when there is a domestic violence and these women was hit by her partner and then on to the face. So it kind of bruises everywhere, and we would like to find, is it a fracture on the nose or in the mandible and others. So we asked her consent for doing the X-ray. So after the X-ray, we would like to look at the fracture. How many fracture, and is it minimized or maximized? And then we found something is unusual. Usually, we call it radio opaque. It's more flaring, and it's a metal.
It's a metal.
Yes, it's a metal in between the cheeks and also on the chins. So we asked her, what is it? And she's smiling and laughing, and she said, it's a Susuk, doctor.
Oh, so she admitted it.
Yeah. I would like to be very beauty. To be beauty and youth, always and charismatic. So she said that. But usually people that when the shaman put the Susuk inside, and they told the client or the patient to not talking about it to the others. Otherwise, the magic or the charm will be fade away.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Was she beautiful, by the way? I'm curious.
She's beautiful, actually. She's from, she's Manadonese. She's beautiful.
Wow.
Well, before we get right into the center of the conversation, we're just wondering, how often do you find these cases? How many? Do you have a ballpark number to share?
In my experience, it's about 2 or 5 cases. But actually, if we found in dental practice, it's more, because mostly they put it in the orofacial area. So it's a coincidentally by the X-ray or the panoramic view, they can find it. So it's mostly the dental or the dentist that could find it more.
Okay, since you have some experience in this, what do they explain to you in regards to where they place it? For example, we've explained that some of it could be looking for wealth or could want to look better. Does that have to do with where they place it on their face or near their jaw? Does that have to do with?
Yeah, I think so. I have read so many about the social anthropological research. And then the shaman said that it could be when you would like to make your breast more enhanced, you can put it under your breast. And if for a man to be stronger, they can put it on the belly. It's not on the penis, but on the belly to make it stronger as a male.
So I'm very curious though, because in magical terms we call it susuk, but in scientific or, not the medical term, the magical, right? But in terms of medical or the scientific, how does it actually work? Because you just mentioned it's just a metal things inside your body. But then you also mentioned that if you want to enhance your breast, you can actually put it in, right? So does it actually change your body shape, or it's just the illusion, or how do you explain it in medical terms?
For the patient or the client, is kind of suggestive. And encourage the psychological belief that they feel it's because they need to be beauty, and the shaman put it inside. And
how do the shaman actually put it inside the body without any operation?
There is I also see from the research there are 3 ways on it. First is they using the chanting. Actually, it kind of invisible, and just put it, and then the client or the patient will feel they have it. And then the others is, I think they call it Jawa Kejawen, like that, using the prayer or something. And other is, they said there is a witch doctor or the fake shaman that just put the real one to put inside. So that's why that's the 3-way.
Doc, you're a pathologist. Obviously, you go through day to day having to know that there has to be an explanation for something. It has to be quite clear in black and white. When you deal in a case like this, especially when it comes to a post-mortem, what is the process and what is the explanation and what is, when you do have to make a report, how do you report on something that is actually something, I would say, somewhat supernatural? It's not completely medical. So how do you go through the process of it? Do you explain it as just simply a charm needle?
We say it is an artifact if we found it in the X-ray, because usually they put it in subcutaneous area under the skin.
Okay.
So if we see the superficial, when we examine the dead body, we cannot find it. But when we do the X-ray examination, or even right now we have the digital virtual autopsy, we're doing that post-mortem CT scanning, we could find it. It's kind of the radio opaque, and then we can see it's a blurred things, and then we only say this artifact, or it's kind of a needle or a pin-like metal.
Have you ever seen one up close in actuality without it being embedded in someone before?
In forensic clinic?
No, like just the actual thing itself.
Oh, not yet.
You haven't seen one yet.
So you haven't seen only in the body.
Right. You would just there's no need to remove it.
Is there any negative impact from having susuk?
Yes, actually, if we call it the unclean way, it could be infection, or maybe after years. Usually, the shaman will ask for 5 or 10 years to remove and to change the new one. But when the person forget or they not doing that anymore, it's going to corrosive inside, and it's going to be infectious also. Or if they put it too deep inside, it could be influence the nerve, or put it into the vascular, it could be septic infection.
Okay, all right, because it is metal after all.
And there's also a risk where your shaman died, for example, during the
and then who's going to handle your case, right? So, Doc, have you ever handled, apart from charm needles, have you ever handled anything like this before? Because there are a lot of beliefs here in Indonesia when it comes to these kind of things that are out of the ordinary.
But usually they just say that it's something they put, but they don't need to take it out. So for us, it's only when we coincidentally looking for the X-ray or the CT scanning, and what is this, and then or the MRI right now. We ask.
Would you recommend someone that desperately wants to look attractive or beautiful to use susuk, or from a medical standpoint, of course?
Well, it's kind of, we have this kind of mental health issue right now. If it's the thing, they put it, using the good way, the antiseptic way, I think for in changing their psychological,
just to make themselves feel more confident, it makes you feel better.
It's okay.
Sure, just
you need to be careful.
Don't just get anyone to do it. Doc, thank you so much for your time. It's been very enlightening to know a little bit more about this, because it's very hard for us, because we have no experience in this at all. We've only heard stories, and it's finally great to talk to somebody who has some experience in handling this kind of situation. Dr. Evi, thank you again for dropping by the studio today.
It was a pleasure.
All right, we've got more See the Stories after the break, featuring something sweet and sprinkly. Stay with us.